Hi there, my name is Joy Morin, and I am a piano teacher and a blogger at colorinmypiano.com. So I want to talk a little bit about a quote that I shared on my blog recently. That quote is, "In every job that must be done, there is an element of fun." And this quote comes from the character Mary Poppins from a series of books about the magical nanny Mary Poppins, which is a series of books for kids authored by P.L. Travers. So I think there's a few ways we can think about this quote in relation to piano teaching. And the first thing that I want to share is just kind of thinking about what the nature of fun is. I think fun is not this externally created thing. Fun is very much dependent on your own inner perception. So just as kind of a proof in an example, if we think of a place that is almost entirely designed around trying to create an enjoyable experience, in particular maybe for a kid or for a family, such as Disneyland, and yet we know even in a place where everything is so carefully thought through and designed for enjoyment by those in this place, it's entirely possible to have an unhappy child at Disneyland, right? Especially if the child is determined not to have a good time. We can definitely imagine that they will find a way to not have a good time, even if everything around them is working towards otherwise. So I really think anything can be made fun or not fun. So what exactly does fun mean, especially if we're talking about a piano lesson setting? So at first thought, we might think, oh, well, fun has to do with, games and having kind of a blast at every moment during the lesson. And I just think if we think about it a little bit more, we just have to be a little careful that we're not trying to take on this responsibility of like entertaining the student exactly, but rather we can teach the students a really valuable life skill here. We can teach students how to find the fun in the work that they do. So it's not about sort of avoiding the work as if fun and work are mutually exclusive. It's more about finding the work in whatever it is, or finding the fun in whatever it is that you're doing, even if it's kind of work or a required job. So yeah, and fun doesn't necessarily have to be about experiencing really high emotions at every moment. It can be a much more subtle type of enjoyment. So it's about finding ways to make the task that you're doing enjoyable and interesting for you. And this is definitely a skill for us that we can develop over time. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi he was a researcher and an author. He's known for his work in understanding something that he called flow, which is, by his definition, a state of becoming so enraptured and engrossed in what it is that you're doing that you sort of lose a sense of time or what place you're in. And part of what he observed after having many conversations with people about their own experiences with being in a flow state is that he noticed some common threads. One of those being that even in work that might be very repetitious, it might be kind of monotonous, what he noticed that people would do in these situations is make a little game out of what they're doing. They would set little goals for themselves. Maybe it's doing the task in a more efficient way or creating a pattern somehow in what they're doing. Something that gives them little goals to work towards, and it's just kind of creates a little mental game. So I think this is kind of an interesting thing to think about in relation to teaching piano and learning piano. So the question that we can ask ourselves is, how can we together make the lesson fun rather than it just being the teacher's responsibility or something, even when the work might at first glance seem like it's kind of uninteresting? How can I make practicing fun for myself, and how can I then help my students figure out how to make practicing enjoyable for themselves? So I believe that the potential for fun is always there in every job, and that's exactly what this quote embodies. It's just a matter of kind of finding it and stirring it up a little bit for ourselves and learning how to build that skill consistently and constantly. So I hope that this has given you some interesting things to think about, and if you have some thoughts about other ways that this quote applies to teaching, or if you have specific examples of ways that you've helped students find fun and enjoyment even in their practicing or in their work, I would love to hear those. So please leave a comment below this video and let me know if you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.